My girlfriend texted, "I'm pregnant, but it's not yours." I replied, "Congrats to the lucky guy then." I blocked her number and sent a best wishes on fatherhood card to the man she mentioned. She was desperately reaching out through friends, claiming she'd made a mistake. I, 29M, was sitting in my office when my phone buzzed. A text from my girlfriend of 3 years. We'd been talking about moving in together, even browsed a few apartments the previous weekend. I smiled, expecting something mundane about dinner plans. "I'm pregnant," the text read. My heart skipped. For a split second, I felt a surge of emotions: shock, fear, excitement. Then came the second text, "But it's not yours." For simple words that shattered everything. I stared at my phone, reading those words over and over. The office around me continued as normal, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, while my world imploded. My hands trembled as I typed back the only response I could muster. "Congrats to the lucky guy then." Then I blocked her number. I somehow made it through the rest of my workday on autopilot. Colleagues asked if I was feeling all right. I nodded and mumbled something about lack of sleep. In reality, I was cycling through memories of our relationship, searching for signs I'd missed. The late nights, working. The new friend she mentioned occasionally. The subtle pulling away over the past few months. She'd mentioned his name once or twice. Her coworker from marketing. They were just friends who occasionally grabbed lunch together. Nothing to worry about, she'd assured me. That evening, I found myself at a card shop, staring at the congratulations section. I picked out one with cartoon storks and blue balloons. Inside, I wrote, "Best wishes on fatherhood. Take care of them both." I addressed it to him at her workplace and dropped it in a mailbox on my way home. Petty? Absolutely. But it felt like the only power I had left. The drive home was a blur. Rain pattered against my windshield, matching my mood. I thought about the ring hidden in my sock drawer. I'd been saving up for months, planning to propose on our upcoming vacation. Now that box would stay closed, the future it represented erased in an instant. At home, I poured myself a drink. Then another. By midnight, I deleted every photo of her from my phone, though each swipe felt like cutting away a piece of myself. I fell asleep on the couch, TV blaring to drown out my thoughts. The texts from unknown numbers started the next day. Her friends. Her sister. "She's been trying to reach you. You need to talk to her. It's not what you think. She made a mistake." A mistake. Like she'd accidentally ordered the wrong coffee or taken a wrong turn. Not slept with someone else and gotten pregnant. I blocked each number as they came in. Changed my social media to private. Told mutual friends I needed space. Some respected that. Others chose sides, mostly hers. Apparently, I was being unreasonable for not hearing her out. My phone rang around noon. My mother. I almost didn't answer, but guilt won out. "Your girlfriend just called me," she said, skipping hello. "She's very upset." "Did she tell you why?" I asked, voice tight. "Something about a misunderstanding. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her." I laughed bitterly. "She texted me yesterday to tell me she's pregnant with another man's child." That's the misunderstanding. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I don't want to talk about it," I said. "Just, if she calls again, don't answer." After hanging up, I threw myself into cleaning my apartment. Scrubbing, vacuuming, organizing. Anything to keep my hands busy and my mind occupied. I found her things everywhere. A hairbrush in my bathroom. A sweater draped over a chair. A half-empty bottle of her perfume on my dresser. I gathered it all into a box, taped it shut, and shoved it into the back of my closet. Out of sight, if not out of mind. 3 days after the text, I came home to find her sitting on the steps outside my apartment building. Her eyes were red and puffy, makeup smeared. For a moment, I felt that familiar urge to comfort her. Then I remembered why she was crying. 5 minutes, I said, walking past her to unlock the door. That's all you get. Inside, she launched into explanations. It was a one-time thing. She'd been drunk. It didn't mean anything. She'd only realized she was pregnant last week. She was scared. She didn't know what to do. And telling me it wasn't mine seemed like the best option. I asked. "I panicked," she said. "I wanted to be honest. Honest would have been telling me you cheated when it happened. Not waiting until there were consequences you couldn't hide." She reached for my hand. I pulled away. "The card was cruel," she whispered. "So was your text." "I made a mistake," she said again. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned a future with. The woman who'd betrayed me in the most fundamental way. "Your 5 minutes are up," I said, opening the door. "Please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I love you. We can work through this." "There is no we anymore," I replied. "You made sure of that." As she left, sobbing, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not anger. Just emptiness. I closed the door, leaned against it, and slid to the floor. Only then, alone in the silence of my apartment, Did I allow myself to break down? Update 1. 2 weeks passed. I threw myself into work, hitting the gym before dawn and staying at the office until security did their evening rounds. Anything to keep busy. Anything to avoid thinking. My boss noticed the change. Everything all right? He asked after I volunteered for a third weekend shift in a row. Just focused, I replied. He didn't push, but he did invite me for a beer after work. I declined. The thought of socializing made my skin crawl. I wasn't ready to answer the inevitable questions about my relationship status, to see the pity in people's eyes. At night, I'd lie awake replaying moments from our relationship. The weekend trips. The inside jokes. The way she'd curl against me in her sleep. Had it all been a lie? Or had something changed? When had I stopped being enough? My friends tried to drag me out. You need to get back out there, they insisted. Best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. The thought made me nauseous. Then came the email from him. We need to talk. The subject line read. The message was brief. I got your card. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at 7. I almost deleted it. Almost. But curiosity won out. The cafe was busy when I arrived. He sat in a corner booth, nervously shredding a napkin. He looked exactly like the LinkedIn photo I'd found while cyberstalking him. Tall, clean-cut, corporate type. Thanks for coming, he said as I sat down. I wasn't sure you would. What's the misunderstanding? I asked, getting straight to the point. He looked uncomfortable. She told me about the pregnancy 2 days before she told you. Said it was mine. I was shocked. It was just once at the company retreat. I'm not proud of it. So what's the misunderstanding? I repeated. I got a paternity test done immediately. Rush job, cost me a fortune. He slid an envelope across the table. It's not mine either. I stared at the paper, the medical terminology swimming before my eyes. Exclusion of paternity. 0% probability. She's been with someone else, he said. Maybe multiple someones. I don't know, but she's been lying to both of us. I felt strangely calm. Why tell me this? Because she's still telling everyone I'm the father. My fiancé found out. My job is on the line because she's making harassment claims. I thought you deserved to know too. I thanked him for the information and left, the test results folded in my pocket. Outside, I leaned against a wall, breathing deeply. I wasn't sure what I felt. Relief that he wasn't the only one. Anger that the betrayal was even deeper than I'd thought. Or just exhaustion from the whole situation. You okay, man? A stranger passing by stopped, looking concerned. I nodded, straightening up. Yeah, just found out my ex has been lying to everyone. He gave me a sympathetic nod. Been there. It gets better, does it? I wondered as I walked to my car. The betrayal felt fresh again, the wound reopened. Not just cheating, but multiple affairs. Not just a pregnancy, but a web of lies about who the father was. That night, I pulled out the ring box from my sock drawer. The diamond caught the light, sparkling with promises that would never be kept. I listed it for sale online, for half what I'd paid. I just wanted it gone. Update 3. A month passed. I was starting to feel like myself again. I'd moved apartments, changed my number, even switched to a different gym. The clean break was helping. The ring sold. I used the money to book a solo trip to a place we'd always talked about visiting together. It felt important to reclaim those dreams, to make them mine alone. I met someone at a work conference. Nothing serious, just coffee and conversation. For the first time since everything happened, I felt a flicker of interest, a reminder that life goes on. We exchanged numbers, but I didn't call. Not yet. I wasn't ready, but it was nice to know I might be, someday. Then came the letter in my mailbox. Handwritten, no return address. I'm sorry for everything, it read. I'm moving back home to figure things out. I won't bother you again. I just wanted you to know I lost the baby last week. Maybe it's for the best. I hope someday you find someone who deserves you. I sat with that letter for a long time. I felt no satisfaction in her loss, just a hollow sadness for what might have been, not just the baby, but the relationship I thought we had. That evening, I did something I'd been putting off. I called my best friend, the one who'd been trying to check on me for weeks. I think I'm ready to talk about it now, I said when he answered. About time, he replied. I've got beer and pizza. Come over. Sitting in his living room, the whole story poured out of me. The text, the card, the paternity test, everything. That card was cold, man, he said when I finished. I know, but understandable. He handed me another beer. So what now? Now. I considered the question. Now I move on. But smarter this time. You think you'll ever talk to her again? I shook my head. Some bridges stay burned. We stayed up late, talking about everything and nothing. For the first time in weeks, I laughed, really laughed. It felt foreign, like using a muscle that had atrophied. But it felt good too. The next morning, I woke up on his couch with a mild hangover and a sense of lightness. The pain wasn't gone, but it had shifted, become more manageable. I could carry it now without being crushed by it. Over the following months, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I joined a hiking group, reconnected with old friends, threw myself into a work project I was passionate about. Small steps, day by day. I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved back to her hometown, started a new job, was seeing a therapist regularly. I wished her well, silently, from a distance. Not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger was exhausting, and I was tired of being exhausted. Update 4. 6 months later, I was grocery shopping when I saw her. She was in the produce section, examining avocados. She looked different, hair shorter, style changed. She hadn't noticed me yet. For a moment, I considered turning around, avoiding the encounter. But something stopped me. I realized the sight of her no longer triggered pain or anger. Just a dull recognition, like seeing an actor from a show you used to watch. Our eyes met across the display. She froze, avocado in hand. I gave her a small nod, not friendly, not hostile, just acknowledgement, and continued with my shopping. As I walked away, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't even realized I was still carrying. The revenge card, the blocking, the anger, it had all been part of my healing process. Necessary steps to reclaim my self-respect. But the real victory wasn't in making her feel bad. It was in reaching a point where she couldn't make me feel bad anymore. I paid for my groceries and stepped out into the sunshine, ready for whatever came next. That evening, I got a text from the woman I'd met at the conference months ago. She was in town for work again, wondering if I wanted to grab dinner. I hesitated only briefly before saying yes. The restaurant was busy, ambient chatter creating a comfortable background noise. She looked nice, professional but relaxed, with an easy smile that reached her eyes. "I wasn't sure you'd remember me," she said as we looked over menus. "I remembered," I replied. "I just wasn't in a good place when we met. And now," I considered the question. "Now I'm getting there." We talked about work, books, travel, safe topics that gradually gave way to more personal ones. I found myself telling her about what had happened, an abbreviated version that acknowledged the pain without dwelling on it. "That's rough," she said when I finished. "But you seem to have handled it with more grace than most would." I laughed. "I don't know about grace." I sent a pretty petty card. "We all have our moments," she said with a smile. "The important thing is you didn't let it define you." After dinner, walking her to her hotel, she asked, "So what's next for you?" Honestly, I'm not sure. For so long, I had this plan, the apartment, the proposal, the whole future mapped out. Now I'm just taking it day by day. "That doesn't sound so bad," she said. "Sometimes the best journeys don't have a fixed destination." At her hotel entrance, she hesitated. "I'm in town until Friday. Maybe we could do this again." I smiled. "I'd like that." Walking home, I thought about how different this feeling was. No pressure, no expectations, just the simple pleasure of connecting with someone new. It wasn't love, not even close, but it was possibility. And after months of feeling like my future had been stolen from me, possibility felt like enough. Back at my apartment, I noticed the box of her things still shoved in the back of my closet. I pulled it out, considered it for a moment, then carried it to the dumpster. It was time to clear out the last remnants of that chapter. As I fell asleep that night, I realized something important. The revenge I'd sought in that moment of hurt, the block number, the card, the cold dismissal, hadn't really been about hurting her at all. It had been about protecting myself, about drawing a line that said no more. It hadn't been my finest moment, but it had been necessary. And now, 6 months later, I could finally say with certainty, I was going to be okay.